Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. is an American politician who is the 46th and current President of the United States. A member of the Democratic Party, he served as the 47th Vice President from 2009 to 2017 under Barack Obama and represented Delaware in the United States Senate from 1973 to 2009. Biden was born and raised in Scranton, Pennsylvania, moving with his family to New Castle County, Delaware, in 1953 when he was 10. He studied at the University of Delaware before earning his law degree from Syracuse University in 1968. He was elected to the New Castle County Council in 1970 and became the sixth youngest senator in U.S. history after he was elected to the United States Senate from Delaware in 1972, at age 29. Biden was the chair or ranking member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee for 12 years and was influential in foreign affairs during Obama's presidency. He also chaired the Senate Judiciary Committee from 1987 to 1995, dealing with drug policy, crime prevention, and civil liberties issues, led the effort to pass the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act and the Violence Against Women Act, and oversaw 6 U.S. Supreme Court confirmation hearings, including the contentious hearings for Robert Bork and Clarence Thomas. He ran unsuccessfully for the Democratic presidential nomination in 1988 and 2008. Biden was re-elected to the Senate 6 times, and was the 4th most senior sitting senator at the time when he became Obama's vice president after they won the 2008 presidential election, defeating John McCain and his running mate Sarah Palin. Obama and Biden were re-elected in 2012, defeating Mitt Romney and his running mate Paul Ryan. During 8 years as vice president, Biden leaned on his Senate experience and frequently represented the administration in negotiations with congressional Republicans, including on the Budget Control Act of 2011, which resolved a debt ceiling crisis, and the American Taxpayer Relief Act of 2012, which addressed the impending fiscal cliff. He also oversaw infrastructure spending in 2009 to counteract the Great Recession. On foreign policy, Biden was a close counselor to the president and took a leading role in designing the withdrawal of U.S. troops from Iraq in 2011. In 2017, Obama awarded Biden the Presidential Medal of Freedom with distinction. Biden and his running mate Kamala Harris defeated incumbent President Donald Trump and Vice President Mike Pence in the 2020 presidential election. He is the oldest president and the first to have a female vice president. Biden proposed, lobbied for and signed into law the American Rescue Plan Act to help the United States recover from the COVID-19 pandemic and the resultant recession. He proposed the American Jobs Plan, aspects of which were incorporated into the Bipartisan Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, which was also signed into law. He nominated Ketanji Brown Jackson to the Supreme Court. Biden proposed an expansion of the social safety net, but those efforts, along with voting rights legislation, failed in Congress. In foreign policy, Biden restored the U.S. into the Paris Agreement on climate change. He completed the withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan, during which the Afghan government collapsed and the Taliban seized control. He responded to the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine by imposing sanctions on Russia, as well as authorizing billions in foreign aid and weapons shipments to Ukraine. Biden was inaugurated as the 46th President of the United States on January 20, 2021. At 78, he is the oldest person to have assumed the office. He is the second Catholic president, after John F. Kennedy, and the first president whose home state is Delaware. He is also the first man since George H. W. Bush to have been both vice president, and the second non-incumbent vice president, after Richard Nixon in 1968, to be elected president. He is also the first president from the silent generation. Biden's inauguration was a muted affair unlike any previous inauguration, due to COVID-19 precautions as well as massively increased security measures because of a threat of widespread civil unrest. Biden took the oath of office on the Capitol's West Steps and gave an inaugural address, but there were no spectators on the Mall and no in-person parades or inaugural balls. Trump did not attend, becoming the first outgoing president since 1869 to not attend his successor's inauguration. Biden is considered a moderate Democrat and a centrist. Throughout his political career, his positions have shifted to align with the mainstream of the Democratic Party. He has a lifetime liberal 72% score from the Americans for Democratic Action through 2004, while the American Conservative Union gave him a lifetime conservative rating of 13% through 2008. Biden supported the fiscal stimulus in the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act of 2009, the Obama administration's proposed increase in infrastructure spending, subsidies for mass transit, including Amtrak, bus, and subway, and the reduced military spending in the Obama administration's fiscal year 2014 budget. He has proposed partially reversing the corporate tax cuts of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, saying that doing so would not hurt businesses' ability to hire. He voted for the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, and the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Biden is a staunch supporter of the Affordable Care Act, ACA. He has promoted a plan to expand and build upon it, paid for by revenue gained from reversing some Trump administration tax cuts. Biden's plan aims to expand health insurance coverage to 97% of Americans, including by creating a public health insurance option. Biden has supported same-sex marriage since 2012 and also supports Roe v. Wade and repealing the Hyde Amendment. He opposes drilling for oil in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge and supports governmental funding to find new energy sources. As a senator, he forged deep relationships with police groups and was a chief proponent of a police officers' Bill of Rights measure that police unions supported but police chiefs opposed. As vice president, he served as a White House liaison to police. Biden believes action must be taken on global warming. As a senator, he co-sponsored the Sense of the Senate resolution calling on the United States to take part in the United Nations climate negotiations and the Boxer-Sanders Global Warming Pollution Reduction Act, the most stringent climate bill in the United States Senate. He wants to achieve a carbon-free power sector in the U.S. by 2035 and stop emissions completely by 2050. His program includes re-entering the Paris Agreement, nature conservation, and green building. On the 2020 presidential campaign trail, Biden said he wanted to pressure China and other countries to cut greenhouse gas emissions via carbon tariffs, if necessary. President Barack Obama and Biden talk with Xi Jinping, February 14, 2012. Biden has said the U.S. needs to get tough on China and build a united front of U.S. allies and partners to confront China's abusive behaviors and human rights violations. He has called China the most serious competitor that poses challenges to the United States' prosperity, security, and democratic values. Biden has voiced concerns about China's coercive and unfair economic practices and human rights abuses in the Xinjiang region to the Chinese Communist Party leader Xi Jinping. He also pledged to sanction and commercially restrict Chinese government officials and entities who carry out repression. Biden has said he is against regime change, but for providing non-military support to opposition movements. He opposed direct U.S. intervention in Libya, voted against U.S. participation in the Gulf War, voted in favor of the Iraq War, and supports a two-state solution in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Biden has pledged to end U.S. support for the Saudi Arabian-led intervention in Yemen and to re-evaluate the United States' relationship with Saudi Arabia. He has called North Korea a paper tiger. As vice president, Biden supported Obama's Cuban thaw. He has said that, as president, he would restore U.S. membership in key United Nations bodies, such as the UN Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, the World Health Organization, and possibly the Human Rights Council. Biden supports extending the New START arms control treaty with Russia to limit the number of nuclear weapons deployed by both sides. In 2021, Biden recognized the Armenian genocide, becoming the first U.S. president to do so. Biden was consistently ranked one of the least wealthy members of the Senate, which he attributed to his having been elected young. Feeling that less wealthy public officials may be tempted to accept contributions in exchange for political favors, he proposed campaign finance reform measures during his first term. As of November 2009, Biden's net worth was $27,012. By November 2020, the Bidens were worth $9 million, largely due to sales of Biden's books and speaking fees after his vice presidency. The political writer Howard Fineman has written, "Biden is not an academic, he's not a theoretical thinker, he's a great street pole. He comes from a long line of working people in Scranton: auto salesmen, car dealers, people who know how to make a sale. He has that great Irish gift. Political columnist David S. Broder wrote that Biden has grown over time. He responds to real people that's been consistent throughout. And his ability to understand himself and deal with other politicians has gotten much better. Journalist James Traub has written that Biden is the kind of fundamentally happy person who can be as generous toward others as he is to himself. In recent years, especially after the 2015 death of his elder son Beau, Biden has been noted for his empathetic nature and ability to communicate about grief. In 2020, CNN wrote that his presidential campaign aimed to make him healer-in-chief, while the New York Times described his extensive history of being called upon to give eulogies. Journalist and TV anchor Wolf Blitzer has described Biden as loquacious. He often deviates from prepared remarks and sometimes puts his foot in his mouth. The New York Times wrote that Biden's weak filters make him capable of blurting out pretty much anything. In 2018, Biden called himself a gaffe machine. Some of his gaffes have been characterized as racially insensitive.